Welcome to our virtual Veterans Day ceremony. Things may be a little different this year, but we know the importance of honoring our service members and remembering the sacrifices they have made and the courage it takes to defend our country. The men and women recognized in this video are true heroes that we can all look up to. We will begin today's virtual ceremony by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we would like to welcome a veteran to say a few words. Mr. Close is one of our third grade teachers, but before teaching, he served in the Marine Corps for 6 years. Mr. Close?
Thank you. Many of you know me as Mr. Close, third grade teacher. But long ago, I was Corporal Close, a member of the United States Marine Corps Infantry, and I served a tour of duty in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I'll be honest, I was scared, I didn't want to go, I didn't want to leave my friends and family. But while I was there, I learned so much. I learned that being a veteran isn't just about combat or fighting, it's about service. Service to your country and service to the people that need you. While I was in Iraq, we did a lot of good things to help the boys and girls of that country. We helped build schools, we helped make cities safe, and we did everything we could to make sure the people of that country could live their lives full of freedom like we have here in America. So I want to take a second, School Street, and I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy day to honor the men and women that served in the United States Armed Forces. Thank you very much. Semper Fi.
The veterans that are honored today have all served our country. They have all made many sacrifices and done many things to keep us safe and protected. Many of the veterans that are served have served in our military in different ways. We have 5 different branches of our military. There are the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Marines, and the Navy. Throughout the video, we will take a minute to explain a little about what each of these branches of the military are and how the men and women in these branches have served our country.
The Air Force is the branch of our military that conducts warfare in the sky. The servicemen or women in this branch are trained as pilots to fly airplanes and other aircrafts. These airplanes and aircrafts are armed with weapons. Fighter planes and bombers are 2 of the aircrafts that are commonly flown by these individuals.
Mike Burgoon. Mr. Burgoon is the grandfather of Piper Christian. He served in the Air Force for 22 years. Carmen Camilla. Mr. Camilla is the grandfather of Camilla Sheely. He served in the Air Force for 9 years and fought in Desert Storm. Tim Hayden. Mr. Hayden is the grandfather of Bryce Hayden, Miles Hawk, and Zaylee Lewis. He served in the Air Force. Cheryl Howard. She is the grandmother of Addison Clark. Ms. Howard served in the Air Force for 4 years. Harry McKinney. Mr. McKinney is the grandfather of Alicia Abrams. He served in the Air Force for 4 years. Donald Pissner. Mr. Pissner is the grandfather of Shane Lewis. He served in the Air Force for 7 years. Cecil Swank Jr. Mr. Swank is the grandfather of Cooper Swank. He served in the Air Force for over 22 years. He fought in the Vietnam War and Desert Storm. Michael Yohe. Mr. Yohe is the grandfather of Logan and Austin Douglas. He served in the Air Force for 4 years. He was awarded a Marksman Honor and a Merit of Service Medal. Tom Zurat. Mr. Zurat is the uncle of Kaylin Smith. He served in the Air Force for 4 years. He was awarded the Basic Training Honor Graduate Award, the NCO Prep School Honor Graduate Award, the Master Technician Certification, and an Outstanding Unit Award.
The Army is the largest branch of our military. The Army is a branch of our military that serves on land. The service men or women that are trained for this branch are trained for land warfare. This group of individuals are also trained to operate land vehicles and helicopters.
Marlon Ackerman. Mr. Ackerman is a friend of Kyler Keaton and Kaizen Kalala. He served in the Army for 22 years and fought in the Grenada War. Thomas Bean Jr. Mr. Bean is the grandfather of Sinclair Galbraith. He served in the Army and fought in Desert Storm. Francis Benedict. Mr. Benedict is the grandfather of Anna and Bryn Benedict. He served in the Army and fought in the Vietnam War. Matthew Bodie. Mr. Bodie is the uncle of Olivia Rhodes. He served in the Army for 6 years and fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Mr. Bodie was awarded a Bronze Star. Jody Brindle. Ms. Brindle is the aunt of Miles Bundy. She served in the Army for 12 years. Ms. Brindle fought in Operation Desert Storm, Operation Desert Shield, Enduring Freedom, New Dawn, Iraqi Freedom, and Inherent Resolve. Ms. Brindle was awarded multiple special honors. Glenn Church. Mr. Church is the great-grandfather of Layla Bell. He served in the Army for 2 years during World War II. Danny Clark Sr. Mr. Clark is the grandfather of Addison Clark. He served in the Army for 2 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Jennifer Coburn. Mrs. Coburn is the mother of Elijah Cardenas. She served in the Army for 5 years and fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Jeremy Coburn. Mr. Coburn is the father of Elijah Cardenas. He served in the Army for 5 years and fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Thomas Douglas. Mr. Douglas is the grandfather of Logan and Austin Douglas. He served in the Army for 2 years during the Vietnam War. Mr. Douglas earned the Air Medal Award, the Army Commendation Medal, and the Combat Infantryman Badge. William Fargo. Mr. Fargo is the grandfather of Leah Kelly. He served in the Army for 2 years. Kenneth Kirk. Mr. Kirk is the grandfather of Jake Wheeler. He served in the Army for 5 years during the Vietnam War. He was awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. Joseph Lips. Mr. Lips is the grandfather of Roland Lips. He served in the Army for 7 years. Reed Madison. Mr. Madison is the grandfather of Adam Leet. He served in the Army for 7 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Mr. Madison was awarded the Good Conduct Medal. James Morris. Mr. Morris is the grandfather of Brianna Morris. He served in the Army for 6 years. Walter Nelson. Mr. Nelson is the great-grandfather of Cameron Thomas. He served in the Army for 3 years and fought in World War II. He was awarded a variety of medals and honors. Alan Pashkow. Mr. Pashkow is the father of Savannah Bowen. He served in the Army for 4 years. He was an honors graduate for Basic and AIT. Andrew Price. Mr. Price is the cousin of Ashton Bradybaugh. He served in the Army for three and a half years. Mr. Price fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Sheldon Puggrant. Mr. Puggrant is the grandfather of Brielle Blatchley and the father of Mrs. Blatchley and Mrs. Cattell. He served in the Army National Guard for 6 years. Gary Rathbun. Mr. Rathbun is the great-uncle of Noah Quinn. He served in the Army for 3 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Mr. Rathbun was awarded wings for being airborne. Todd Reed. Mr. Reed is the uncle of Laney and Avery Herbstrut. He served in the Army for 20 years and fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Mr. Reed was awarded a Purple Heart. Dustin Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes is the brother of Andrew Rhodes and stepson of Mrs. Rhodes. He serves in the Army for 7 years. Mr. Rhodes has fought in the global war on terrorism. Tom Shealy. Mr. Shealy is the great-uncle of Camilla and Haley Shealy. He served in the Army for 2 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Bob South. Mr. South is the grandfather of Lucas South. He served in the Army and fought in the Vietnam War. Stacy Sprester. Mr. Sprester is the grandfather of Ryan Nelson. He served in the Army for 2 years and fought in the Vietnam War. He was awarded a Bronze Star. Adam Turner. Mr. Turner is a cousin of Ireland Rissmiller. He served in the Army for 4 years. He was awarded the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with a Campaign Star, the Army Commendation Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Army Service Ribbon, and a NATO Medal. John Walker. Mr. Walker is the great-grandfather of Delaney and Jonah Bridge. He served in the Army and fought in World War II.
The Coast Guard is separate from the other branches as it is part of the Department of Homeland Security. The Coast Guard is the smallest of the military branches. These servicemen and women enforce immigration laws, aid in American vessels that are in distress, enforce custom laws, and protect the borders that surround our country.
Andrew Davidson. Mr. Davidson is the father of Isabella Davidson. He served in the Coast Guard for 4 years.
The Marine Corps is the main landing force for the military. The Marines work closely with the Navy in attacking and establishing beachheads during war. The Marines are often some of the first soldiers to enter combat.
Jeffrey Case. Mr. Case is a close family friend of Amelia Lama. He served in the Marine Corps for 6 years. Mr. Case fought in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and the Gulf War. He was awarded the State of New York Medal of Merit and the State of New York Conspicuous Service Star. Michael Dibble. Mr. Dibble is the father of Micah Dibble. He served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. Mr. Dibble fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Lee German. Mr. German is the grandfather of Gabriella Carter. He served in the Marine Corps for 3 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Ben Graham. Mr. Graham is the father of Alex and Allie Graham. He served in the Marine Corps for 4 years and fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Chester Oizowski. Mr. Oizowski is the grandfather of Ida Edwards. He served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. He fought in the Vietnam War and was awarded the White House Honor Award. Jerry Peterson. Mr. Peterson is the grandfather of Jackson Peterson. He served in the Marine Corps for 3 years. Mr. Peterson fought in the Vietnam War and was awarded 3 Presidential Unit citations. Keith Smith. Mr. Smith is the grandfather of Layla Bell. He served in the Marine Corps for 2 years and fought in the Vietnam War. Joseph Turner. Mr. Turner is the cousin of Ireland Rissmiller. He served in the Marine Corps and fought in the Iraq War. He was awarded the Combat Action Ribbon for Iraq, Sea Service Ribbon, Iraqi Campaign Ribbon, Global War on Terrorism Ribbon, a Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal, and a National Defense Ribbon.
The Navy is the branch of our military that fights in the oceans and seas throughout the world. The servicemen and women in this branch work on destroyers, aircraft carriers, and submarines. Both the Marines and Coast Guard are prepared to join with the Navy if ever needed.
James Bell, Jr. Mr. Bell is the grandfather of Layla Bell. He served in the Navy for 3 years during the Lebanon hostage crisis. Mr. Bell was awarded the Sea Service Medal and Accommodation Medals. John Bodie. Mr. Bodie is the grandfather of Olivia Rhodes. He served in the Navy for 6 years. Robert Cathers IV. Mr. Cathers is the father of Robert Cathers. He served in the Navy for 5 years. Mr. Cathers fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Carlisle Douglas. Mr. Douglas is the grandfather of Irene Sugars. He served in the Navy. James Hills. Mr. Hills is the great-grandfather of Layla Bell. He served in the Navy for 4 years and fought in the Vietnam War. He was awarded the Vietnam Service Medal and a Good Conduct Medal. David Kramer. Mr. Kramer is the grandfather of Landon and Kelsey Kramer. He served in the Navy. George Rolland Sr. Mr. Rolland is the grandfather of Lexa Shirley. He served in the Navy for over 3 years. Philip Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes is the grandfather of Olivia Rhodes. He served in the Navy for 2 years during the Vietnam War. John Jack Sheedy. Mr. Sheedy is the grandfather of Kaylin Yowie. He served in the Navy for 6 years. Mr. Sheedy fought in World War II and the Korean War.
We will conclude today's ceremony with a patriotic medley led by Mr. Grady and sung by Mrs. Cotillions and Mrs. Brady Ball's 5th grade classes.